I swear, every family dinner with Mike's parents felt like a trap. Tonight, of all nights, was no different. Mike, grinning like a golden retriever who'd just stolen someone's lunch, had decided I was the punchline. "Rowan, tell me again," he said, smirking across the table. "How many times have you tried to cook without burning the kitchen down?" A few polite laughs bubbled around the table. His mother smiled, that tight-lipped kind of smile that said she disapproved but wouldn't say it out loud. But Mike wasn't done. Of course, he wasn't. "Oh, come on, Mom, it's true," he went on, waving his fork for emphasis. "You should have seen it. He almost set off the smoke alarm last week, just boiling pasta. My cheeks burned." "It wasn't," I started, but he cut me off. "Or the time you tried to fix the shelf." "What was it? 5 minutes before it fell apart again?" He chuckled and looked around the table for backup. "I swear, if Rowan ever moves in here, Dad's gonna have to child-proof the kitchen." That got a real laugh, loud and sharp, bouncing off the walls. Even his mother gave in this time. Arthur, though. Arthur didn't laugh. He just stared at his plate, jaw tight. I tried to smile, tried to play along like it didn't sting, but the laughter felt like claws scraping down my skin. "Mike," I said softly, hoping he'd stop. He didn't. "What? Babe, I'm joking. You know I love you, even if you can't do basic life skills." My stomach twisted. I stared at my plate, at the reflection of the chandelier in the silverware, anything but his smug grin. His mom tried to change the subject, asking Arthur about work, but the air around me already felt too thin, too heavy. Every second at that table felt like sitting in a spotlight I hadn't asked for. I laughed weakly, trying to make it all seem fine, but it cracked somewhere in my chest, leaving me hollow. I wanted to disappear. I wanted to crawl under the table and vanish. But instead, I grabbed my napkin, mumbled an excuse, and bolted. Outside, the cool night air hit me like a splash of water. I pressed my hands to my face, trying to hold back the heat behind my eyes. "Rowan?" I jumped. He was there. Arthur, Mike's dad. He found me outside, his concern quiet and steady. He reached for my shoulder but didn't pull me close. "You matter, Rowan. You know that, don't you?" The words struck deeper than I expected. For a moment, the world narrowed to the space between us. His hand hovering at my shoulder, not quite touching. His eyes searching mine. I swallowed hard, feeling tears threaten. "It never feels that way with Mike," I confessed quietly. "Not lately." Arthur's jaw tightened. "He's young. He doesn't see how lucky he is." A long silence stretched between us, each of us on the edge of something unnamed. His hand finally squeezed my shoulder, the warmth surprising. Our faces were close, too close. I could feel his breath. He hesitated, eyes flickering to my lips, then back to my eyes. I saw it then. The same longing, the same fear. He didn't move. Neither did I. The moment broke. He stepped back, his hand falling. He said, gentle as ever, "Come inside whenever you're ready. Take your time." And just like that, the line between what was forbidden and what was wanted blurred, and I knew nothing would ever be the same. Flashback. I remember the first time I met Mike like it was yesterday. Because how could I forget someone who smiled that arrogantly and made me feel like I was the only idiot in the room? It was at a mutual friend's party. He came up to me, tall, golden hair, perfectly messy, grin wide, and said, "Hey, I like your jacket. Not that it matters. You probably wouldn't notice me anyway." I laughed nervously. Who says that to a stranger? But somehow he had this careless charm that made it hard to hate him. Over the next few weeks, he called, texted, came around, and I fell. Hard. I thought he was fun, exciting, electric. But looking back now, it was all flash. A thrill that faded fast, leaving little warmth behind. And then there was Arthur. I first noticed him at Mike's family brunch. Well, noticed might be the wrong word.
He noticed me. Not in that smoldering, attention-grabbing way Mike did, but in a quiet, almost invisible way that made it impossible to ignore. He asked how I liked the city, really listened when I answered, and remembered the little things about me I barely noticed myself. I remember spilling coffee on my lap that morning. Classic me. And instead of laughing like Mike would have, he handed me a napkin, looked me in the eye, and said, "Don't worry, happens to the best of us. You're fine." It was small, nothing dramatic, but something about the way he said it, steady, calm, patient, made my chest tighten. I felt safe, seen. There were other moments too, subtle. Ones I didn't recognize at the time. Like the way he remembered, I liked Earl Grey, and always had a cup ready if I came by. Or the quiet smile he gave when I told a dumb joke. The kind that made you feel clever even if the joke wasn't. And then I'd look at Mike, who never remembered what I liked for more than a day, who laughed at me sometimes when I wasn't ready to be laughed at, who expected me to fit into his world like it was nothing. The contrast was sharp, painful even, but I told myself it didn't matter. I was with Mike. That's what mattered. But now, even months later, when I'm alone with Arthur or even just catching a glance across the room, that same pull is still there. The quiet gravity, the warmth, the way he somehow makes you feel like you belong, even if you barely belong anywhere else. And I hate that I can't stop noticing it. Flashback ends. A little while later. After fleeing the dinner, I walked the length of the garden until my breath evened out. Shame, anger, and something worse, guilt, pressed on my chest. Yes, Mike joked at my expense more often lately. Yes, it stung. But was that really a reason to dream of someone else? Of his father? Of all people? I pressed my palms to my face. "You should leave," some small voice whispered, "instead of wishing for comfort you haven't earned." Maybe I was looking for an excuse, a reason to run. But then I pictured all those nights when Mike hardly listened, when his touch felt more routine than caring, when I realized I hadn't laughed, not really laughed, in weeks. Guilt twisted in my gut, but so did the ache of being alone in plain sight. Was it so wrong to want more? I didn't expect him to follow me back inside. After the almost kiss in the garden, my mind was spinning. Guilty. Exhilarated. Terrified. All at once. I thought we'd leave it there. That maybe it had just been a fleeting mistake under the stars. But he was waiting in the quiet kitchen, leaning against the counter, green eyes soft and serious. "Rowan." His voice was low, careful. "About before..." My stomach dropped. "Author?" I whispered, barely daring to breathe. He shook his head. "I've been trapped, Rowan. For years. Trapped in a marriage that's suffocating. A life built on appearances. While everything I wanted, everything I needed, was just missing. I've been lonely in ways I didn't even fully realize until now." I swallowed hard, heart hammering. He stepped closer, just enough that I could feel the warmth radiating off him. "And then I looked at you. And for the first time in, God, I don't even know how long, I felt something real, something I could reach for, something I wanted to protect, to cherish." My chest tightened, and I could barely hold back the tears. I feel it too." He let out a slow breath, like he'd been holding it in for decades. "I know you do. That's why I had to be honest, even if it's impossible. Even if the world would hate us, I wanted to argue, to run, to convince myself this was wrong. But every time I looked at him, the ache inside me screamed otherwise. And before I could stop myself, he leaned in again. This time, there was no hesitation, no guilt, just the pull between us, undeniable, fierce. And I kissed him back, because for the first time, I didn't feel invisible. I didn't feel guilty. I felt wanted, alive, seen. The next few days were hell. Guilt gnawed at me like a living thing. I tried to stay away, to remind myself of the lines we weren't supposed to cross. But every glance across the dinner table made my pulse race. Every late-night text from him, careful, teasing, intimate, made it impossible to focus on anything else. We were like magnets, drawn to each other in secret. A brush of fingers as he handed me a glass. The quiet smiles we exchanged across crowded rooms. Small jokes only we understood. It all built into something I couldn't resist. One evening, after another family gathering, he found me on the balcony, pretending to look at the city lights. I didn't want him to see me, yet there he was, leaning casually against the doorway, green eyes catching the moonlight. "You're avoiding me again," he said, voice soft. "I'm not," I started, but even I didn't believe it. He walked closer, slowly, deliberately. "Rowan, you don't have to hide from me. I know it's wrong, maybe, but I also know what we feel." My heart hammered, every rational thought screaming at me to step back. But then he smiled, that faint, patient smile that made my chest ache, and I realized I didn't want to step back. Before I could stop myself, his hand brushed mine. Not just a touch, a spark that shot straight through me. And then our lips met again. Slow, teasing, hunger building from all the moments we'd stolen without anyone noticing. One kiss turned into another, and suddenly, the night didn't matter. The world didn't matter. There was only us, and the fire between us that had been smoldering for weeks, months, finally allowed to roar. By the time we pulled back, breathless, my mind was a mess of guilt and desire. And I knew, painfully, that staying away wasn't an option. Not when every glance, every touch, every word he sent me made it impossible. I was his, and he was mine. 2 weeks later, Mike had been quiet all the evening, or so I thought. But the moment he noticed Arthur's lingering glances, the way his hand subtly brushed mine as he handed me a plate, his jaw tightened. "Rowan!" Mike's voice was sharp, cutting through the low hum of dinner conversation. My stomach sank. "You've been acting weird lately. Sneaky, secretive. What's going on?" I froze, caught in the crossfire of guilt and fear. What do you mean?" I tried, voice trembling. He leaned closer, eyes narrowing. "Don't lie to me. Are you seeing someone else?" My chest tightened, my pulse thundered. I shook my head quickly. "No, it's not like that." But he wasn't convinced. Mike's suspicion wasn't aimed at his father, oddly enough. He couldn't even imagine the truth. No, he assumed I was cheating somewhere else. Someone my age, someone like him. The idea made my stomach twist in knots. "You've been distant," he accused, voice rising. "You never talk to me the way you used to. You're nervous, jumpy. I see it." I swallowed, desperate, guilt clawing at me. I'm just stressed. Okay. Just stressed." His eyes searched mine, and I saw the fracture forming between us. The trust, the ease we'd once had, it was splintering under the weight of his accusations and my secret. And as much as it hurt, as much as it tore at me, part of me felt drawn closer to Arthur, whose quiet concern was constant, grounding, real. Every stolen glance at Arthur across the room, every subtle touch in secret, made me ache in ways Mike never could. And every time Mike's anger flared, I felt a strange, forbidden comfort in the father's proximity, like I'd been drifting alone in a storm and suddenly found someone who could hold me steady. A few weeks later, I couldn't do it anymore. Not the nights of feeling small, not the constant games, not the knife-edge tension between us. "Mike," I said one evening, voice shaking but firm. We were alone in his apartment. The city lights cast long shadows across the walls. I can't be with you anymore." He froze. "What?" "Rowan, what are you talking about?" I met his gaze, my chest tight. "I'm done. I can't keep doing this." The way you treat me, it's cruel. I'm tired. I'm done. He opened his mouth, but I cut him off. Please. Just don't make this harder than it has to be. When I left that night, the relief I expected never came. Instead, a new storm began to brew. Because now, without the barrier of Mike between us, the tension with Arthur became unbearable. I couldn't stop thinking about him. Couldn't stop replaying the feel of his hands, the warmth of his gaze, the way he made me feel alive. Every moment we were in the same room, every casual brush of fingers, every shared joke felt electric. And Arthur? He wasn't hiding his feelings anymore either. I saw it in the way he lingered near me, the way his voice softened when he spoke my name, the little touches that weren't accidental. We were both desperate to keep it secret, to avoid scandal, to stay careful. But the longing, it was too strong, too real. Every time we were near each other, it pulled us closer, a current we couldn't resist. I realized then with a pang that was half fear, half desire. The real challenge wasn't leaving Mike. The real challenge was surviving the storm that had begun between Arthur and me, and trying not to lose myself in it. 4 days later. I wasn't supposed to be there. I was just passing the hallway, looking for a glass of water, when I heard voices, sharp, heated, cutting through the quiet of the late night. I paused, just out of sight. "Don't pretend you didn't know," she hissed. Arthur replied, exasperated. "We'll talk about this later. Not now." "Everything will come out eventually," her voice clipped. "Might as well be honest, Arthur." A chair scraped. Silence. I held my breath, wanting to run but rooted in place. I pressed my hands to my face, trying to process what I just heard. What big secret were they hiding? And through the chaos in my mind, one thing struck me with terrifying clarity. My feelings for Arthur, my desire, my longing, maybe they weren't as impossible as I'd feared. But the world would never understand. And Mike could still ruin everything if he suspected. 6 days later. It was supposed to be a quiet night. I thought I could steal a moment with Arthur. In the library, just to breathe. Just to exist somewhere safe with him. But Mike? Of course, Mike had been suspicious all along, like a predator circling a wounded animal. We were leaning over a book together, shoulders brushing, fingers accidentally grazing. The warmth, the familiarity, the danger, all of it made my chest hammer. He laughed softly at something I said, leaning closer, and I almost didn't realize my hand had rested against his. And then, the door slammed open. Mike stood there, face a mix of horror, fury, and disbelief. "Rowan! What the hell is going on?" I jumped, heart in my throat, face burning. "Mike, it's not..." But he didn't wait. His eyes snapped between us, and I could see it all in his gaze. Suspicion, betrayal, disbelief. You're with him?" Arthur stepped in front of me, calm but firm, his presence protective. "Mike, step back. You don't understand. Mike's voice cracked, rage flaring. "You, Rowan, how could you? And you, Dad, I trusted you." I felt my stomach drop. This wasn't just anger. It was a rupture, a tearing of something I didn't know could be torn. My throat went dry. "It's not like that. It's me. It's us. Nothing you think." Arthur's hand brushed mine subtly, grounding me, letting me know we were still together even in the chaos. "Rowan hasn't done anything wrong," he said, voice low, measured. "This isn't a betrayal. This is the truth." Mike laughed bitterly, pacing the room, fists clenching. "Truth? What truth? You're gay. You've been lying to all of us for years. You've been lying to me my whole life." His eyes were wild now, darting between us like he couldn't process it. "I can't. This isn't real."
This can't be real. I wanted to run, to scream, to make it stop, but all I could do was cling to Arthur, the only thing steady in the storm. And when Arthur's green eyes met mine, full of reassurance and fire, I felt it. No matter the chaos, no matter the fallout, we were a force. The room felt like it was closing in, tension snapping like electricity. I realized with a sick thrill and fear that the world had just shifted, and nothing would ever be the same. I found him later, where it all began. The garden, moonlight spilling across the path, shadows dancing on the walls. His back was straight, but his shoulders sagged slightly, as if carrying the weight of years. Arthur took a ragged breath. There's something you should know about Mike. He's not biologically mine. I've always known, but I tried for years to make the family work. It's been the central lie of my life. His words struck like thunder. Why are you telling me now? He looked away, voice weary. Because there's no more space for lies between us. Not after everything else. He took my hands, fingers warm, strong, grounding me in a way the world never had. Rowan, I choose you. I choose this, us, even if the world hates it. Even if everyone we know turns away. I've spent decades living for the world, but now, I live for you. I felt my breath catch. My chest ached, and my knees nearly gave out under the weight of relief, desire, and longing. Even with everything falling apart, I whispered. He smiled, soft and certain, and leaned closer, forehead brushing mine. Especially with everything falling apart. Because now there's nothing left to hide, nothing left to fear. We have each other. That's all that matters. I pressed my lips to his, slow at first, savoring the taste, the warmth, the safety. Then deeper, more desperate, as if trying to make up for all the years of longing, of stolen glances, of quiet, forbidden desire. When we finally pulled back, the world was still broken, still screaming outside. But in that moment, the storm couldn't touch us. We had chosen each other, openly, fully, without shame. And for the first time, I felt like maybe I could survive anything. A few days later, the house felt hollow after Mike left. The slam of the door had echoed through every room, reverberating like a physical blow. I sank onto the couch, heart still hammering, trying to make sense of the chaos. Mike had cut all ties. No calls, no messages, no appearances at family events. The smug, careless boy who had once made me feel small and invisible was gone. But the weight of what had happened still lingered like smoke in the air. Arthur's wife didn't fare any better. Her affair was exposed to the world, unraveling the carefully constructed image of wealth and perfection the family had clung to for decades. Whispers followed me everywhere. At cafes, in the streets, even at work, people would glance, murmur, and look away. The family name, once polished and untouchable, was collapsing in slow, deliberate ruin. Soon, we became public fodder. I couldn't walk into a cafe without feeling eyes on me, whispers trailing in my wake. My boss called me in, face tight. This situation reflects poorly, Rowan. I hope you understand Arthur's friends closed ranks in polite, chilly silence. His phone, once alive with friendly texts, went quiet. Sometimes we clung to each other under heavy silence, both wondering if this was really worth it. I saw Arthur struggle too. Saw the loneliness in his eyes, the pride stripped away, the constant pressure gnawing at his dignity. We fought, once, over a spilled coffee, something trivial. Maybe they're right, I spat, more afraid than angry. He quieted, face soft. Do you believe that? No, I whispered. But it's hard. But we held on, because in private, in the quiet, he was still a safe harbor. Every night,
Every shared breath I told myself, this storm will pass. We'll rebuild, brick by brick. At last, time dulled the sharpest edges. We found a new apartment where few recognized us. We joined a support group, others who'd survived public scandal and found love on the other side. One evening, Arthur caught my hand as we walked home, streetlights washing gold over our shadows. "We traded everything for this," he said. I squeezed back, certain for the first time. "And I'd do it again, because you see me, when no one else ever did." He smiled, tears in his eyes. Then it was worth it. Soon, through all my chaos, Arthur remained constant. His presence was steady, a calm in the storm that had consumed my life. He didn't apologize, didn't look for excuses. He just took my hand when I needed it, brushed back my hair when I cried, and held me through nights when I couldn't sleep from tension and fear. In the quiet hours, I realized just how much I'd been starving for this. Someone who saw me truly and wanted me. Not out of duty, not out of fear, not out of appearances, just wanted me. And in the wreckage of everyone else's lies and betrayals, I finally felt real. We laughed softly sometimes, finding pieces of joy in the rubble. A cup of tea in the morning, a quiet walk through the city, hands brushing with every step. The scandal didn't touch us where it mattered. We had chosen each other fully, and for the first time, I could breathe. A few months later. Months passed, but the memory of that first stolen kiss never faded. On a crisp night, I found myself walking past the garden again. The one where it had all begun. Where the impossible first spark had ignited between us. The path was silvered with moonlight, shadows of the flowers stretching long and delicate across the ground. And he was there. Arthur. Waiting. Not hiding. Not apologizing. Just him. Tall, steady, magnetic. His green eyes caught the moonlight and locked on mine, and I felt my chest swell with longing I hadn't dared to touch for months. "I spent years living for a lie," he whispered, his voice low but resonant, carrying across the quiet garden. "Now, I'm living for you." The weight of the world seemed to fall away in that moment. The scandal, the whispers, the chaos, it didn't exist here. Only us. I stepped closer instinctively, heart racing, and the air between us vibrated with anticipation. With the memory of stolen touches, hidden glances, and months of quiet longing. When our lips met, it was nothing like the first time. This kiss was open, bold, claiming what we'd both wanted for so long. It was slow at first, savoring, tasting, remembering, before deepening into urgent, hungry passion that left my knees weak and my chest aching. He pressed me against the railing, hands on my waist, pulling me impossibly close, and I wrapped my arms around his neck, holding on like I'd been adrift for years, and had finally found home. We kissed beneath the stars, beneath the soft rustle of leaves, beneath a sky that seemed to bend just for us. When we finally pulled back, foreheads resting together, breath mingling, I felt the thrill of freedom pulse through me. No shame, no secrecy, no fear, only us. "I choose you," he murmured, voice trembling slightly, green eyes glimmering. "No lies, no hiding, just you and me." I smiled through tears and laughter, chest tight with emotion. "Then I choose you too. Always." For the first time, under the quiet glow of the moon, I understood what it meant to truly live. Not for duty, not for appearances, but for love. Real, undeniable, unapologetic love. The end. Would you choose a love that sets your soul on fire, even if it shatters the world around you? Thanks for watching. Subscribe to become part of our Rainbow Force, and consider joining our membership for early access and exclusive content. Stay wholesome.